The silent tension Lieutenant Jackson had worked with aliens before. But Threxia was different. She was over 8 feet tall, with violet skin that shimmered under the station lights. Her voice was deep but smooth. She didn't speak much. Most of the time she only gave short answers or nodded quietly, but when she worked, everything around her became focused, clean, perfect. They had been working together for 6 months on the neutral space station, Harmony 9. Humans and alien species were building technology together, learning from each other. Jackson was proud of the progress. He even thought he and Threxia were becoming a good team, maybe even friends. But something had changed. Threxia used to greet him with a small bow. Lately, she didn't even look at him when he entered the room. She worked with more force. Her movements were faster, rougher. Sometimes her claws scraped the metal tools too hard, leaving sparks. Jackson noticed it, but he didn't say anything. Maybe it was just stress, until today. They were in the command room checking the ship's control systems. A long wire had burned out, and they were running scans. The room was quiet, filled only with the soft humming of machines and blinking lights. Jackson tried to lighten the mood. "You know," he said with a smile, "a friend of mine from Earth once told me I have no fashion sense. She said I dress like a repair droid." He chuckled. Threxia stopped moving. Her glowing yellow eyes turned slowly toward him. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. Jackson felt a cold wave of silence pass over them. "I was joking," he added quickly. "Just a friend. From Earth. Long time ago." But Threxia was already moving. Her claws clenched. Without warning, she slammed her massive fist into the control panel. Crash! The entire console shattered. Sparks flew, lights exploded. A loud alarm blared through the room. Jackson jumped back. Smoke filled the air. The control panel was ruined, completely smashed into metal pieces. "Threxia, what the hell?" But she didn't answer. Her chest rose and fell with heavy breaths. Her eyes were burning with something Jackson couldn't understand. Anger, pain, jealousy. Then, without a word, she turned and stormed out of the room. Jackson stood there stunned, his ears still ringing from the blast. The alarm continued screaming until he manually shut it off. He looked at the broken control panel. "What just happened?" he whispered. Later that evening, Jackson sat in the maintenance bay, watching the security footage. He had access to the logs, part of his job as lead engineer. He had to report the damage. But something didn't feel right. He rewound the video. Watched her reaction again. She didn't just smash the panel. Her eyes changed right after he said the word "she." One word triggered that much rage. That's when he noticed something strange. A hidden folder. It wasn't labeled in English or standard galactic code. But the station's AI helped translate it. The folder held visual recordings, holograms of Jackson. In one, he was laughing during a call with someone from Earth, a woman. Another clip showed him working alone, humming a human tune. Threxia had been watching him. Jackson's heart raced. Why would she keep these? Suddenly, another file popped open, a translated message from her species. Destruction is a sign, a challenge, a mark. Those who destroy for another declare their bond. Jackson leaned back in his chair, feeling his skin go cold. She didn't break the panel in anger. She was sending a message. Back in his quarters, Jackson stared at the ceiling, trying to make sense of it all. Threxia had always been quiet. Always. Controlled. But maybe not anymore. He remembered a moment, 2 weeks ago, when their hands touched over a circuit board. She had held it a second longer than needed. He thought it was just accidental. Now he wasn't so sure. The worst part? He didn't know if he was supposed to feel flattered or afraid. Sparks and secrets. The station's hallway lights flickered. As Jackson walked alone, something was wrong. The smashed control panel was still under repair and parts of the system were unstable. But what truly bothered Jackson wasn't the damage. It was Threxia's silence. No explanation. no apology. No communication since she stormed out. He hadn't seen her all day. He entered the tech lab to run a diagnostic, but as he stepped in, he stopped. The room was dark, only the central console glowing softly. On the screen, a strange alien symbol flashed, something he hadn't seen before. Jackson tapped the console. "Station AI, what is this file?" A robotic voice replied, "Unknown, encryption, origin Threxian." Jackson hesitated. Then he entered his override code. The symbol melted away, replaced by a video. It began to play automatically. It was Threxia. She stood alone in a dimly lit room. Her room. Her eyes were closed, and she was holding something in her hand. A small silver object with human writing on it. Jackson's name. Then she spoke softly, in her language. The AI translated, "He doesn't understand the signs. I destroyed for him. I waited for the response, but he brings up another female. My heat rises, my thoughts burn. Is he rejecting me?" The video ended. Jackson stepped back from the console. He wasn't imagining it. Threxia was emotionally connected to him, deeply, maybe even dangerously. But how? Why? They were colleagues, teammates, not lovers, not even close, at least not from his side. He left the lab quickly. Back in the corridor, he almost bumped into Dr. Lanari, a xenopsychologist from Earth. "Doctor," Jackson called. "I need your help. It's about Threxia." Lanari raised an eyebrow. "What happened?" Jackson explained everything, the smashed panel, the video, the symbols. Lanari listened without interrupting. Then she sighed. "Lieutenant," she said slowly, "Threxians don't express emotions like we do. When they feel a bond forming, they don't confess it. They declare it, often violently. In their culture, destruction is a form of courtship." "What?" "She didn't attack the panel because she was angry. She was showing you that she considers you hers. Mentioning another female was like declaring a rival." Jackson stared at her. "So I've been, what, accidentally dating an 8-foot alien without knowing?" Lanari didn't smile. "Not dating, but you've triggered a cultural response, and if you don't respond properly, it could get worse." "Worse how?" "Threxia may feel rejected. That could lead to withdrawal or aggression. If she believes her claim has failed, she might enter a severing state. Very dangerous." Jackson rubbed his forehead. "Great, just great." Lanari added, "There's something else. The Threxian bond isn't only emotional. It's territorial. She may try to isolate you from others." Later that night, Jackson returned to his workspace and found it different. The lights were dimmer. The doors had been reprogrammed to respond only to his and Threxia's biosigns. The rest of the team? Locked out. Jackson's tools had been cleaned and arranged perfectly, something only Threxia ever did. On the wall, drawn in faint glowing ink, was a circle with 2 dots inside it. The AI translated the symbol. Shared path. He was being marked. Jackson sat down slowly, trying to stay calm. This wasn't a prank, this was serious. He checked the room logs. All signs showed Threxia had been here 2 hours ago. She stayed for 13 minutes. Just enough time to change the access settings, arrange his things, and leave a message. And then he noticed something chilling. His communication logs had been wiped. All messages from the Earthwoman he had talked about before? Gone. Deleted. By her. Suddenly, a soft thud echoed behind him. Jackson turned around quickly. The hallway was empty, but on the floor near the door was a single metal tool. It was bent in half deliberately. She had left it there like a warning or a sign. The cultural trap. The next morning, Jackson woke up to silence and heat, not from anger, real heat. His room's temperature had risen by 10 degrees. His breath came quicker. The lights were redder than usual, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. The station's climate control system was malfunctioning, or someone had changed it. He checked the controls. Locked. Someone had overridden them. A message blinked on his tablet. "You are being prepared. Accept or run. No name, no source." Jackson stared at the words. Prepared for what? He marched straight to Dr. Linari's lab. I'm done guessing, he said. Tell me everything. No holding back. Linari took a deep breath. She had expected this. All right, she said, closing the door. You need to know what you've stepped into. She opened a holopad and displayed an ancient Threxian symbol, a spiral of fire inside a broken circle. This is called Vrakencho, roughly translated, the challenge of claim. Sounds friendly, Jackson muttered. It's not. It's a ritual older than their written history. When a Threxian feels deep interest, emotional or biological, they test the target. If the target reacts properly, the bond is formed. But if they ignore the signs, what happens? The Threxian sees it as rejection, public humiliation. Sometimes they fall into madness. Other times they react with violence or full isolation bonding. Isolation bonding? Linari nodded slowly. They trap the one they desire in a closed space. No exit, no interruptions. They call it silence together. It can last hours or days. Jackson felt a chill. You're saying she might lock me in somewhere? Maybe, maybe not. But if she started the challenge, then your actions will decide everything. Back in his lab, Jackson found another clue. On his table was a gift, a smooth black stone with alien carvings, warm to the touch. It was pulsing faintly, like a living heart. Station AI identified it. Symbol of Threxian binding, forbidden to share outside ritual. There was no doubt anymore. She wasn't just confused. She had made her decision. Now it was his move. Later he met Officer Dren, an old alien mechanic who once worked with Threxia's clan during border wars. When Jackson explained the situation, Dren chuckled, a slow, gravelly sound. She smashed something for you? Dren asked. Jackson nodded. She's serious then. I saw her do the same once. For a captain she respected. Crushed his helmet under her foot when another female looked at him. What happened? The captain ignored it, pretended it didn't mean anything. Dren paused. We found his bunk welded shut 2 days later. Inside it, just his boots, he was gone, never seen again. Jackson blinked. Are you trying to help me or scare me? Dren gave a toothy grin. Both. Back on the command deck, Jackson started noticing more changes. The station lights dimmed whenever he entered a hallway. Threxian warning symbols appeared near any door connected to his quarters. And worst of all, every time he tried to send a message off station, it bounced back, blocked. He was being cut off. Bit by bit, system by system, Threxia was trapping him in her version of intimacy. He didn't know if he should be honored or terrified. That night, something new happened. He returned to his room. The door slid shut behind him, locked, not with his code, not with hers. Completely sealed. Red lights glowed around the edges, and on the wall, drawn in something that looked like glowing ash, was a new message. You will not speak of others again. Not while I breathe. Jackson backed away, and then he heard it. A low, steady breath. Not his. Someone else was inside the room. Watching. Waiting. A message in ruins. Jackson's heart raced. He wasn't alone. He couldn't see her, but he felt her, hidden in the corner shadows of the sealed room. The air was warm, heavy. His breath came sharp. Red light from the glowing wall symbol made the space look like it was alive, pulsing with warning. He stepped back slowly. Threxia, he said quietly, voice calm. I know you're there. Silence. Then, a slow, soft movement. The faint clink of alien armor shifting. She stepped forward out of the dark. Threxia's yellow eyes met his. But this time, they weren't cold. They were burning, not with hate, but something deeper. Obsession, hurt, maybe even desperation. Jackson raised his hands. You locked me in here. Why? She said nothing. Instead, she walked to the wall where the message glowed and placed her clawed hand over it. The symbol vanished beneath her touch. Then she turned and tapped her chest. Her voice, deep and soft, echoed in the room. I chose you. Jackson swallowed hard. You don't have to do this. You don't have to trap me. Her eyes narrowed. You spoke of another female. I thought you understood me. But you see me only as a tool. That's not true. She stepped closer. Then prove it. Suddenly the lights dimmed again. A new symbol appeared on the floor beneath them. Circular lines with jagged cuts. The AI in Jackson's headgear translated it instantly. Trial of bond. Speak, fight, or flee. Threxia moved aside, giving him space. This is your moment, she said. Choose now, or forever be my enemy. Jackson stared at her. The exit was sealed. The heat was rising. Again. But deep inside, something shifted in him too. This wasn't just about love or culture. This was a message. A challenge to see her, not just as an alien coworker, but as a person with feelings, fire, and rules he barely understood. Jackson stepped forward into the center of the glowing floor. I'm not here to fight, he said, voice steady. But I'm not here to run either. Threxia tilted her head. I'll speak, he said. And you'll listen. She remained silent. Jackson took a breath. You think I don't see you? I do. Every day. The way you fix broken tech faster than anyone. The way you stand in silence when others shout. The way you hide pain because showing it might look weak to your people. Her eyes widened slightly. I talked about a woman from Earth, not because I wanted to compare, but because I didn't think I needed to be careful around you. He stepped even closer. I see now. I was blind. She stepped into the circle too. Her voice trembled now. Then what am I to you, human? Jackson paused. I don't know yet, he said honestly. But I know what you are not. You're not just a colleague. You're not a threat. And you're not forgotten. Her fists unclenched. Her breathing slowed. And then she did something unexpected. She turned and knelt. A symbol burned on her shoulder plate, revealed now under her armor. A jagged mark shaped like a broken moon. The AI scanned it instantly. Mark of unspoken submission, used only once in a lifetime. She whispered, This is the scar of one who offers herself fully, but only if accepted. Jackson stared.
In shock. She was giving him control. Not over her body, over the bond. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the lights returned to normal. The door clicked open. But before Jackson could move, Threxia said one last thing. Now, the others will come. He
froze. Others? Threxia stood up. If I've marked you, they'll know. Who? Her voice darkened. The enforcers. The human answer. The door slid open with a cold hiss, but Jackson didn't move. Threxia's final words echoed in his mind. The enforcers will come. They weren't coming to talk. They were coming to take him, or kill him. Jackson and Threxia walked side by side through the hallway. It was empty, too quiet for a normally busy space station. As they passed a control terminal, Jackson noticed something strange. A new security level had been activated. Level Black, species conflict detected, human in violation of Threxian tradition. His name flashed on screen. He was now an incident. Inside, the war room. Jackson paced. His hands shook. Not from fear, but from pressure. The kind that builds when you realize your next move decides everything. He turned to Threxia. I need the truth, he said. Why do they care so much? Why is this even their business? She looked away. Because I didn't ask permission. Permission? In my culture, when one of us claims a bond outside the clan, we must inform the high circle. Without it, the bond is seen as betrayal. And they send enforcers? To correct the dishonor, or destroy the proof. Jackson clenched his fists. So I'm the proof. Great. She looked at him. For once, her voice was soft. I chose you without them. That breaks law, but I won't undo it. Jackson stared at her. This alien, this being who smashed things when jealous and kneeled when vulnerable, had risked everything for him, and he hadn't even decided how he felt yet. A loud siren screamed across the station. They're here, Threxia whispered. Jackson ran to the central display. 3 warships uncloaked just outside the station. Black, claw-shaped crafts with glowing red centers, Threxian enforcer vessels. One message arrived. Turn over the human, or be turned into ruin. Threxia turned to him. You can still run, but Jackson shook his head. I'm done running. He called for emergency access to the station's AI systems. Activate emergency simulation deck, he ordered. Authorization required, the system replied. Jackson placed his hand on the scanner and stared at the camera. I'm Lieutenant Jackson, born on Earth. I invoke Earth Combat Code trial by simulation. I challenge the enforcers to approving. A pause, then the AI confirmed. Simulation challenge accepted. Enforcers notified. Threxia stepped forward, shocked. You're insane, she said. You're not trained for this. No, Jackson said. But I'm human, and we don't fold when we're pushed. The simulation deck came alive. Inside, a circular arena formed, half tech, half wild terrain. The challenge was simple: survive the combat trial, defeat the chosen opponent, and earn the right to be heard. Threxian law allowed this once, only once, for outsiders. Jackson stepped in. A moment later, his opponent arrived. A 10-foot enforcer, in full obsidian armor, claws like swords, and a helmet that hissed with steam. The AI announced, "Begin." The enforcer charged like a beast. Jackson ducked, rolled, and used the terrain. He couldn't win with brute force. So he used human tricks, misdirection, distraction, quick traps. He led the enforcer into a narrow space and triggered an electric net he'd modified using his engineer tools. Crack! The enforcer dropped to one knee. But not for long. He roared, shattered the trap, and grabbed Jackson by the neck. Everything blurred. Jackson gasped. Then, he did something no Threxian would expect. He smiled. I didn't come to win, he whispered. I came to prove I won't be broken. And with one final move, he pulled a flash grenade from his belt and slammed it into the enforcer's helmet. Boom, white. Light exploded. The enforcer fell backward, blind. The AI declared, "Combat complete. Human has survived. Right to speak, granted." Outside the simulation, the station was quiet. Threxia stood tall as the enforcers landed inside the docking bay. Their leader stepped forward, armor scorched. He stared at Jackson, then removed his helmet. You fought like a fool, the enforcer growled. But you fought. He turned to Threxia. Your claim is reckless, but earned. And with that, the enforcers turned and left. Jackson leaned against a wall, exhausted, bruised, but alive. Threxia came to him, kneeling again. You didn't have to do that, she whispered. He looked into her eyes. Yes, I did, he said. Because now, it's not just your bond, it's mine too. The rival enforcers, the enforcers left. But peace didn't follow. They had accepted Jackson's trial, not his presence. 3 hours later, the station's airlocks locked down again. The main terminal flashed a new message. High Threxian Command. Requests audience. Orders cannot be declined. Jackson stood frozen in the command room. Threxia looked worried for the first time. They weren't the final threat, she said quietly. That was only the first wave. The next ship wasn't black, it was gold. Polished, curved, and lined with Threxian royal emblems. This wasn't a warship. It was a judgment barge. Inside it rode one of the most feared beings in Threxian culture. First Enforcer Kyril, a warrior judge known for ending entire clans over dishonor. And now, he was here for a human engineer. The judgment barge docked without permission. Inside the main hall, Jackson waited with Threxia at his side. The door opened. Kirel entered, 12 feet tall, wearing ceremonial armor engraved with names of those he had defeated. He didn't walk. He glided like death with purpose. He looked straight at Jackson, then at Threxia. "I expected madness from you," Kirel growled at her. "But to bond with a flesh-weak outsider? That is betrayal." Threxia didn't flinch. "I chose him. You chose shame. I chose truth." Kirel's glowing eyes shifted to Jackson. "You speak human?" Jackson straightened his back. "When needed." Kirel stepped closer. "Then speak wisely. You stand before the blade of your own survival." Jackson nodded. "You want truth? Fine." He pointed at Threxia. "She could have crushed me, thrown me out the airlock. She didn't. She gave me a choice." He stepped forward. "She respected me, more than most humans ever did." Kirel growled. "And what of our laws?" Jackson's voice rose. "Your laws say, survive the trial, speak the truth. I did both. Or is this not about law? Is it about ego?" That struck a nerve. Kirel raised his hand, but Threxia stepped in front of Jackson. "No more threats," she said. "If you strike him, you strike me." "Then I will," Kirel said. But before his hand could fall, the station AI intervened. Genetic lock detected, bond verified, mental compatibility confirmed, Threxian-human pairing, 87% stable, filed in galactic records. The room went quiet. Threxia's eyes widened. Jackson looked confused. "Wait, what?" The AI repeated. "Genetic lock occurred 3 hours ago, during proximity link. Human and Threxian bonding confirmed. Trial is now recognized as binding." Threxia turned to Jackson slowly. "You didn't just fight, Jackson," she said. "You completed the bond." Kirel stepped back in stunned silence. "Impossible," he hissed, but the golden light from the AI projection surrounded Jackson now. A beam scanned both of them and glowed green. "Bond is lawful." The judgment barge left without another word, but the storm didn't. Later, Jackson sat in his quarters, head spinning. "I didn't even know bonding was genetic," he muttered. Threxia smiled faintly. "Neither did I, but our species share more than we thought." Jackson looked up. "Is this forever, then?" Threxia sat beside him. "For my kind," she said, "a bond is broken only by death, or betrayal." Jackson nodded. "Then we make this work, no lies, no smashing consoles." She laughed. "I can't promise that part." He smiled too. "Fair enough." But just as the moment softened, a message arrived on his private screen, encrypted. No source. "You bonded with her, but do you even know what she's hiding?" Only a human could do this. Jackson stared at the message on his screen. "You bonded with her, but do you even know what she's hiding?" His heart pounded. Threxia sat beside him, unaware, smiling, calm. He looked at her, really looked at her. The violet skin, the strong shoulders, the glowing eyes that had once burned with fury, now softened with trust. But doubt crept in, and Jackson, being human, did what no AI would do. He asked, "Threxia, is there something you haven't told me?" Her smile faded. The room fell quiet. Then she spoke. "Yes," she said. "There is one truth I never said out loud." She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. "I wasn't just assigned to this station. I chose it. I tracked you long before we met. You weren't random to me, Jackson. You were selected." Jackson felt the floor shift beneath him. "You what?" She turned around, eyes glowing again. This time not from anger, but a strange kind of sorrow. "You saved a Threxian scout ship 2 years ago near the Dren fields. The pilot was my blood sister. You didn't even know who she was, but you risked everything to pull her from that burning wreck." Jackson blinked. "I remember that. Barely. It was chaos." "She remembered," Threxia said. She spoke of the strange human who ran toward fire. Now the bond made sense. It wasn't just about a technical teammate, it was about debt. Gratitude, honor, and something deeper. She hadn't just fallen for him. She had watched, waited, chosen. Jackson sat down slowly, absorbing it all. "And the message?" he asked. "The one that said you were hiding something?" She sighed. "It came from my brother," she said. "He was meant to bond with me in our old customs, but I refused. I broke that path to make a new one with you." "Wait, your brother? You mean—" "He will come," she said quietly. "He's already near." The station lights dimmed once again. A dark object appeared on radar. No transponder, no ID. Just a long, silent vessel moving through space like a blade. Threxia whispered, "He's here." The final threat wasn't a warship. It was one Threxian male, a rogue high-blood warrior named Rarvol. He arrived alone. But he didn't need an army. He was one. Jackson met him in the hangar. Threxia stood beside him, but Rarvol ignored her. His cold yellow eyes locked only on Jackson. "So this is the human," Rarvol said with disgust. "The one who stole what was mine." "I didn't steal anything," Jackson replied. "She made her own choice. She broke tradition. She chose freedom. That word means nothing in our bloodlines." "Then maybe it's time your bloodline changed." Rarvol reached for his blade, but Jackson didn't flinch. Instead, he reached out his hand. "Go ahead," he said. "Kill me, that's easy. Proving you're worthy, that's hard." Rarvol paused. "This is not a human story to write, but it is now," Jackson said calmly. "Because she is not a prize. She's a person. She chose me, and I chose her. If that's a crime, then punish me, not her." Silence. Then slowly, Rarvol lowered his weapon. "You are foolish," he said, "but not weak," Threxia added, stepping between them. Rarvol growled, then turned, and walked away. He left without a fight, because the one thing Threxians respected more than power was honor, and Jackson had proven his. Later, Jackson stood with Threxia on the observation deck, watching the stars return to peace. He turned to her. "You were right," he said. "This wasn't just about culture. It was about fear. I was afraid of what I didn't understand." Threxia leaned closer. "And now?" "I'm still afraid," he admitted. "But I'm not running." She smiled, genuinely, softly. "That's what makes you human," she said. "You feel fear, and still step forward. And in that moment, surrounded by silence, stars, and shared understanding, Threxia reached for his hand, clawed, strong, gentle. They stood there, human and alien. Not perfect, not normal, but bonded. Because sometimes, only a human could do this.